Hi everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast, coming to you from SITS in London. I'm Kirsty McGowan, and I'm here with Simone Jo Moore.
Thank you.
Suresh GP.
Hello everybody.
And our guest this afternoon is Barclay Ray. Hi Barclay.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Nice to be here.
Barclay, just to be for viewers, Barclay was the last year's SITS Contributor of the Year award for SITS15. Now ably passed over to Stuart Rance. So he's been the front runner since last year.
I was the first and only, basically. We talked about passing. Have I passed over the tiara?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So tell me something about the ITSM goodness stuff. One of the reasons that earned an award for Barclay is constant sharing to the community in terms of forums, in terms of even today, if you look at it, we have a checklist, a readily downloadable checklist for people to have some practical stuff. And what I've heard, and I've actually sat in some of these sessions, is the goodness, ITSM goodness stuff has got a lot of practical advices that people can use to workplace. So how is that being perceived in this market? And tell us more about what was the concept of this ITSM goodness.
Well, I mean, actually, the concept evolved completely organically. It was a Twitter thing where I'd been at a few conferences, and somebody had said, "Oh, it was a great conference because we all met and we talked about practical stuff." And there was a lot of, I think somebody said, "There's a lot of love in the room," and there's a lot of I said, a lot of ITSM goodness. And then suddenly it just started going a bit more than that, and I've started producing, which I still do every day, tweets. They're just little aphorisms, that say, "Hey, SLAs are do it this way." And then I produced the model, which is practical. I mean, the thing for me, and I suppose I've been doing this for 800 years, but certainly I'm in consulting for over 20 now, and I still like to go and do consulting. If I'm going to comment on the industry or what's happening, I think it's essential that I'm still out there working with people, and maybe not every day, but certainly a few times. I've always still got real clients, so what I like to do is actually have stuff that works and is practical and does something that's. I still like doing and talking about the new ideas, the shiny stuff.
Yep. Shiny stuff's always nice.
Without the shiny stuff, it would be a bit dull. But actually, the practical stuff is probably still what I do most of with. So, and I used to, in a previous company that I had content, but I put it behind a paywall, and I just thought, oh look, it's out there.
Yeah, just let it go.
Keep it out there.
Let it be free.
So yeah, let it be free, and I got a lot.
So how did you find the take up once you actually? I saw it when it went up onto the site, and the tweets went out, and I got the link and had a look and went, ooh, it's a bit yummy. So how have you found the response?
I mean, the response has been fantastic, and in some ways, it's as much with the industry as well. That people have picked up on it. I get asked to do things using it or referring to it. But I mean, in terms of traffic, it quadrupled on my website immediately, and has continued at that kind of level. It doesn't always turn into business, but that's fine. It's all about just getting out there and pushing it out. So it's been good, and that sort of taking the practical stuff as I think is what people see me for. I'm never going to be pushing the boundary of the latest shiny technology, but
one of the things that I have seen, and I've got responses from the Bright Talk forums, is when Barclay comes and speaks, he talks about very practical, sensible stuff, and that's leading up to a question of DevOps for dummies. And that's something which is catchy. We want to understand: is it DevOps as a concept that has emerged as a trend?
Well, I mean, I suppose I'm naturally a little bit cynical about hypes and things. And you could have had conversations today where people are going, "This is just another hype," and I can't disagree with that. There's nothing particularly new in DevOps, but it does talk to a different audience, and sometimes you can have a good hype, I think.
Well, you can. Yeah, and sometimes people just need to put a name around something that they've already been doing. People have been doing DevOps for a long time, but they didn't know that was what they were doing. So, sometimes it's just nice to, labels can be useful sometimes.
It's pretty much what I'm going to start off saying in my session, and I put up a picture of my old boss who's just retired. I actually blogged about this, but he's just retired, and I'm saying he's actually a DevOps expert. He doesn't know it.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, that's right.
But, but it is about the context and the audience and the millennials, as we always hear about, that ITIL for them is a horror story. So
well, that's right. I mean, in service management, probably like a lot of people, I was doing service management before I knew that there was a thing called service management. It's just what you do. It's common sense.
It's common sense, but it does need. I kind of firmly believe that ITIL probably was promoted as much by the vendors needing something to sell.
Yeah.
Put it in the 90s and the early noughties and saying, there's this really cranky British government thing, and our tool just happens to do it. And so we don't have any comment to make about that, and that really has sold it on both sides.
So while we're looking, talking about tools in there, the ITSM marketplace is pretty crowded at the moment. There's a lot of stuff out there.
I never knew there were so many vendors.
Yeah.
And I came over here, so many tools.
So what do you think of what is the marketplace landscape?
It's incredibly, I mean, it's one of the things that I do is market watch, and I do a lot of procurement with clients, and and I even do quite a lot of work with vendors, and where are you in the market? I wrote my first review of the market in 1994 for what is now SDI. It hasn't changed. It's the same guy. Well, no, of course it has. But there's a lot of the vendors that are still there. There's a lot more have come in, and every year at this show we see 4 or 5 new ones that we've never heard of, and then next year gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
So I think the last few years really have opened it up. It was quite stagnant for a long time, not really much innovation, and that was two-sided. I don't think buyers were particularly wanting innovation, but consumerization, mobile, all these things, I've changed that and really have taken a subject quite close to my heart, which is the whole kind of service catalogue, service design part. Really taken that on board and got some really nice tools and automation, request management, all these support tools, all these kind of things that have been buzzing around for a long time, and particularly the sort of ITIL definition of service catalogue has been quite vague for a long time. But now it's there. You can see, well, actually there's a front end to it and there's a back end to it, and they actually have relevance. So everybody's looking for that.
And do you think because you've got the new vendors that come in or pop up each year, that maybe it's that young blood, that new blood that actually stirs up the ones that have been around for a while? So they have to listen to the customers a lot more in terms of keeping up with the functionality and the way it looks and feels when they use it.
The thing I've really noticed, particularly in the last couple of years, is you've got your big framework guys, you've got your sort of traditional niche mid-market guys that have been around, the ITSM companies. The framework guys do other things, the ITSM companies. But what was before was a fairly SME orientated lower level. The gap in functionality between those products and the rest is narrowing all the time, but their cost is a fraction, and the question is, what is the differentiator? Very hard to, certainly cost, but also about how you implement, how you make it work. And I've had some conversations this week with people about, some of the guys who do sell to the enterprise and say, right, well, what's going to make a difference for you? Because these guys are catching up. And the enterprise is going to look at it in a very shortly and say, there's actually not much difference between those guys at all. So what's different from you is how you implement and how you position yourself to help them to do it right. The low cost guys are not interested in that really. They're going to say, buy it, spin it up, buy. And that's fine if you know what you're doing and you're small, but enterprise guys need help. So that is the differentiator, I think, not the products really. It's just like how are you going to add value?
You made a statement very wise that ITIL per se at this moment does not have a vague definition of a service catalog or stuff, and that leads up to the next question of the ITIL practitioner one, and you are one of the core team that has been identified.
Architects.
Core architects. I'd stay corrected.
My father was a retired architect. I was saying to him the other day, I'm now an ITIL architect. He's like, what are you talking about? You're not an architect, you don't know how to build anything.
Yeah, so that's coming up, and it's a need of the hour as we bring into new trends of SIAM or bring your own devices or DevOps and stuff like that. So how has it been going now? I mean, how do you see the leap forward from an ITIL practitioner? I'm a consumer of what's going to come. So how do you see that?
Well, I mean, I'm very pleased to be part of that team, particularly because for many years I've been one on the outside. I have carped about ITIL and I've criticised it. I made the decision about 2 years ago to stop doing that and get with the program sort of thing, be positive, and actually have done a lot of good stuff on it. What I think I'm going to bring to that is as much practical, and everybody on the team is the same. They want it to be real and practical. They want it to be stuff that people can, because that's what people have said to me consistently for the last 10, 15 years. We're going in the course, people like ITIL experts coming up to me at the end of a workshop saying, I got more out of this that I can actually use, and I'm an ITIL expert. And I'm like, okay, so it needs to change, otherwise it's losing credibility. So it's going. We've really just started to scope it. I think actually the writing of it will be quite quick, but we're just getting the positioning right. What are we going to do? What can we do with the time scale? How can we get that out in a nice, fresh way? It's not going to be a big book. It's going to be content, checklists, toolkits that people can use.
And that's what the community's been crying out for. You want to, a lot of, I don't know if it's just specific trainers, but I've had a bit of feedback from people recently who've been doing some of the exams, saying, well, really all I learned in the course was how to pass the exam, and hopefully this is going to change some of that. You're actually going to learn skills that you can use.
I sincerely hope so. I mean, we can't. I mean, there are constraints, which is it's 2 days, and it's going to go in the back of foundation potentially. But I mean, I think we all want it to be something that even an ITIL expert will get some value from. And it has been crying out for a lot. So we can't teach them. Like pilot training, you have to learn how to fly, but you can still be taught what's important. And I think that's what's going to be different. Is we're going to say, look, you need to process great, you need to understand that, but actually what you need to do is, in order to do this, you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to identify good metrics, you need to have an understanding of organizational change, how to influence people, it's all that kind of good stuff about people and interaction rather than just process is going to sort everything.
And do you think with that the whole adopt and adapt, which has been like the mantra for most frameworks, not just for ITIL as well, but you think this will help them discern which pieces for themselves, that skill of analysing and defining what it is they need out of all of this?
Absolutely, because one of the sections is going to be about assessment, discovery, understanding where we are, and that's got to be. We're going to bake into that sense of knowing your own organisation and using the tools that you got from the rest of ITIL and the other things to make that happen. I mean,
I think that's been the missing part. People haven't really understood how to adapt it. I think that's been a.
What do I mean when you go to your first ITIL training? Come out and your head's just about exploding with all the stuff you've learned, but actually that common sense to know which pieces are going to be useful to you and the organisation that you work in, that's the tougher part of it, isn't it?
I think without offending people in IT people like things to be well defined in a
Yeah,
box.
they do.
They like something. Tell me how to do this.
Yeah.
Even how complex and difficult it is.
They want to
Just tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a real challenge
The
to say.
real word just doesn't work like that, does it?
No, and what it's been in the past is, there you go, and adopt and adapt. So,
Yeah.
and you see all these horrendous implementations
Oh,
of
yeah.
stuff that are just totally inappropriate.
Yeah.
My favourite one recently was a 300-page service catalogue that was going. There was, fortunately, thank goodness I was there. Fortunately, about the day after I was there to look at it, was going to be issued to the whole organisation, and it was just interminable detail. It's like, and they said, and the worst thing was, they said, we got an ITIL consultant in to do it.
Oh,
Just
ouch.
kill me now.
The
No.
worst one I came across was someone who'd set up they'd done a foundation course, they'd come back and tried to set up a CMDB, and they had every mouse and keyboard linked to the
Excellent.
PC
God.
that they were attached to in the CMDB.
I know that CMDB kitchen drawer syndrome,
Oh, no,
you know?
it was a nightmare. And it's
Boiling the
it's
ocean.
easy to get bigger, but it's really hard to pull it back down once you've created it.
So finally on the SITS1 here, and you've been a regular visitor of SITS, and I met him last year as well. How was this program now shifted to from Earth Code to Olympia? How is the look and feel? How is the kind of people that you're seeing in your stands, and what's been different this time?
A lot been different. I mean, I've been coming to this show since it started in 1935. About 1990 when it really started as part of what's now SDI's show. And it was originally here as well. When It started as the SIT show about 12, 13 years ago. It was here, then we moved to Earl's Court.
Right.
I like the room, the hall better.
Yeah.
It's more airy, and it's a bit bigger, so it feels a bit more relaxed, I suppose. It's always been take your boss to conference day. You get people hunting in packs from companies.
Yes.
5 of them. Right, we're going to look at. You're going to look at that product. I'm going to look at this. So it's like a day out, an exercise. So that's always been the case. I think I've been to quite a few other conferences and stuff. It's quite unique, I think, in our industry as just purely a trade show with some seminars built in.
The content comes second to the actual exhibition in this case.
Yeah, it gets people in, and they do like it. The sessions are usually quite well attended, but it is a trade show, and you'll see the amount of money that some of the vendors spend on their stands and their position, so they get people as soon as they come in. That they obviously get value from that investment.
They wouldn't keep doing it if they weren't, I assume.
No, absolutely not. So.
And for some reason, I think it might be easier for the people coming here too, because A, you know it's a trade show. You know you are going to be talking to vendors.
Somebody in a chicken suit is going to come up and try and sell you something.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no mystery in terms of, I don't want to dash around
walk
here.
past the stands like this.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you this afternoon.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming and joining us. We'll see
And
you
good luck
again
for the
in
session.
future
And I was
sometime.
glad I got my IRL moment.
I had no idea what you're talking about, but in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, great to
Okay.
meet you all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
everyone.
Barclay.